Hello everybody, my name is CongoLion3639. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, I'm giving you the top 5 cards you need to have in 2021. 2020 is now officially over, and it seems like combo decks are as well. So 2021 gives us a new control-oriented format. And with the next ban list not looking like it's going to hit any control cards, it looks like that's going to be the future for now. So yeah, I'm giving you the cards you do need to have in 2021, getting off the cards that might be released this year, and cards that already have been released since last year. So without further ado, let's just get straight on into the video. Now, before we go on into the list, I got a couple honorable mentions. I got a lot, actually. The first two are going to be archetypes and not cards, and that's the reason why they're not on the list. First one is Dogmatika. Dogmatika is very, very splashable with a lot of decks. It doesn't require that many cards to throw into your deck, and since we're moving into a more control-oriented style like the OCG is right now, this could be a very good deck. With it, Dogmatika and Invoked is a very good, I would say, tier 2 deck right now. It's really good with a Zodiac and Eldritch, which I'll just talk about that in just 1 second. Yeah, but it's very expensive to get. Nader Servant's like $70-something right now. So yeah, and you kind of need a playset of that if you're going to run Dogmatika Splash in any deck. So yeah, I do have this in an honorable mention, not because it's not as good as the other cards. It's just an archetype, not a card. So I didn't want to throw that onto the list. So yeah. Next things up is Eldritch in the honorable mention. Again, since we're moving into more of a control-oriented style, Eldritch is probably going to be a top deck. It's still a top deck to now, and I wouldn't consider VWs and Drytrons as a control deck, and this deck can handle those decks without a problem. So much so that the OCG, again, a format that's so control-oriented, has actually semi-limited Outlands, and then limited Nadir Servant, which we might, like, if you say that to a TCG player, that just seems really crazy, because why would you ever do that to those decks? But yeah, I do have this honorable mention. I feel like they're not really going to hit anything on the Eldritch until they hit the Drytrons and VW, which VW is just VFD, and that's about it. They're not going to really hit anything just yet. I think it does take a March ban list first to hit the Drytrons and VWs before they even try to get into Eldritch combos and stuff like that. But again, another archetype in the list. I don't think this is as expensive, especially with Eldritch Golden Lord getting reprinted in the Maximum Gold series. So it shouldn't be that expensive. It's way more cheaper than the Dogmatika, so that's why it's higher than the Dogmatika. But it's an honorable mention. Just another archetype, but not a... Now, getting on to the actual cards on the list, I have Cross Out Dexinator as an honorable mention. Why is it in the honorable mention? Because we still don't know the fucking release date for this damn thing. It was supposed to come out last year, which didn't happen for some reason. OCG has this, and people use it like crazy because, again, it's a very, very good card that the TCG or Yu-Gi-Oh! Just refuses to release in the TCG for some reason. Again, this is before we get the official card release for Blazing Vortex. If it's in Blazing Vortex, that's fucking amazing, but I highly doubt it's going to be. It's a very good card. Declare one card name, banish one card from the with that name from your deck, and if you do until the end of this turn, the effects are negated as well as the activated effects on the field. So basically, you use this for hand traps, because basically everyone uses hand traps. So if they try to, like, Nibiru, you play this, declare Nibiru, banish one of your Nibirus, and all of a sudden Nibiru doesn't go through anymore. So that's kind of how it's going to be played. But again, since we have no release date, I do decide just to keep this in the honorable mentions. Next thing up on the honorable mentions, I have Lightning Storm. It's not good enough to make them top 5 because, well, first off, it's a very expensive card, which I don't think I'll take that into consideration anyways, because the top 5 are pretty expensive as well. But it's more of a side deck. This ain't really a main deck staple. It's more of a side deck staple for many decks out there, because you only want to use this card when you're for sure going second. You don't want to use this in your main deck going first and end up drawing it because it's completely worthless. So you really want to do this going second. It's a very good card. I'm not going to lie. This is a very beautiful card. It's basically a Regeki for all attack and position monsters. or a Harpy's Feather Duster, which, oh boy, it's a pretty good fucking card. But it's just, right now, it's more of a side deck choice. That's why I do have it in the honorable mentions. Because it's not a main deck staple, it's more of a side deck. And then the last honorable mention is Triple Tactic Talents. This is number 6. This was very hard not to put in the top 5. It's a very, very good card, but when you compare Triple Tactic Talents to the cards that are on the top 5, it's still not seeing as much use. It's a very good card, though. Well, the effect is either when your opponent activates a monster effect during your turn, which when you're going second is basically any monster effect, or if you're going first is any hand trap. So you basically either draw 2 cards, so a Pot of Greed, take control 1 monster your opponent controls until the end phase, which is Change of Heart, and look at your opponent's hand, choose 1 card, and shuffle it into the deck, which is a Forceful Sentry. So basically, it has 3 banned cards in its one text. Now, it does have that activation where your opponent needs to activate a monster effect during your turn, which happens a lot in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta. So, yeah, this is definitely number 6. It was very hard not to put in the top 5, but I can definitely see this being at number 6. It's a very good card, and I wouldn't be surprised if this sees way more play in 2021. Again, a very expensive card. It's like $100-something, which I think is the highest on the list. I could be wrong if I do see the top 5, but I think this is the highest. And that's, I just have to put in honorable mentions because it's a good card. Not seeing much play now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it sees more play in 2021. Now into the top 5. At number 5, I do have Iced Dragon's Prism. Now, if you wanted to put Triple Tactics here, I wouldn't blame you because they're both very good cards. But the reason why I have Iced Dragon's Prism right now is because, well, the control-oriented decks like Outreach and Dogmatica are both using this card, and I would not blame him. It's a very, very, very good card. In a sense, like I said, the TCG is more moving into a control-oriented style. This can see way more play than it already has right now. So basically, the effect is target 1 monster your opponent controls, or an opponent's graveyard, special summon it to the field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish 1 monster from both players' field that have the same type as each other. You can only activate this effect once per turn. Now, basically, this works against every single deck because usually every deck controls the same type of cards. So that's not a problem. The only deck this doesn't work against right now is Drytrons. That's because Drytron's effects prevent them from special summoning through any other card except other Drytrons. So yeah, it's kind of that's literally the only deck that this card does not really work on. I mean, but that still is a really just Drytrons. This doesn't work. You can just side out of it at this point. But against every other deck in the meta, this works perfectly fine. For the Ice Dragon Prison is a very good card, already being seen being used in the control-oriented style. And like I said, since we're going to a more control-oriented type of style in the TCG, unless they release some crazy-ass combo deck in the future releases, I can see Ice Dragon Prison definitely being up there. That's why it's at number 4 is Pot of Disparity. Dear God, oh, this is going to be a special card. Now, this card has not been released yet. This card is in Blazing Vortex, which comes out on February 4th, if my mind is correct. It's early February. It's like very early February. It might be 3rd or 4th. I could be wrong. But this is a very good card and probably is going to replace Pot of Extravagance in most decks. Now, what's the effect? It's basically Pot of Duality and Pot of Extravagance in the same card. So basically, you banish 3 or 6 cards from your extra deck face down, which is your Pot of Extravagance, and then you activate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards you banished, add 1 of them, and then shuffle or put the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. So your Pot of Duality. Why is this now better? Because it's like, well, if it's a Pot of Duality, you have to get its you can't special summon for the rest of the turn. Well, you don't, because for the rest of the turn, any battle damage your opponent or any damage your opponent takes is halved, and you cannot draw any cards by this effect because, well, it basically tills off that Pot of Extravagance as well. No, this is a very good card. The banish 3 or 6 face down does not say random, so you get to choose the 3 or 6 cards, which can help a lot of decks because banishing 3 to 6 random cards, again, you have no way of knowing which cards are getting banished. But if you get to choose the cards that are getting banished, it might be better for some decks to run Disparity. And again, sometimes drawing 2 cards is actually worse off, or 2 random cards is actually worse off than getting that one specific card you need. This is basically a better Pot of Duality because you just banish 6 face down like you would do with Pot of Extravagance, and then mill the top 6 choose one of the 6, add to your hand, and put all the ones on the bottom, and you still get the special summon that turn. It doesn't. The reason why Poly Duality is not used today is because its effect is you can't special summon for the rest of the turn after that effect resolves. Yeah, it's kind of bad for why people don't play Pot of Duality outside decks that don't need a special summon. Pot of Disparity is immediately going to see play without a doubt, because again, like I said, drawing 2 random cards is actually worse than actually choosing one specific card that can help you out in your combos. I can definitely see Pot of Disparity seeing play. I can absolutely see it play, and many players can also see that as well. I can see this being like a really expensive card when it comes out. But yeah, I would try to get your hands on this because this is going to see tons of play. At number 3, it's Zeus. Oh boy, this card has made an impact. This card's only been out for 2 months. It came out in Phantom Rage in November, and now it's January. And dear God, this card is absolutely stupid. If your deck can make an XYZ, it can use Zeus in it as well. Basically, this is just nukes the field, doesn't destroy, doesn't target, nuke the field, not once per turn. So yeah, kind of stupid. It immediately shot Zoodiac back up because of how good Zeus is. And then again, like I said, if you control any XYZ monsters, you can also control Zeus. The effect is once per turn. If an XYZ monster battle this turn, you can XYZ summon this card using that XYZ monster as material. So yeah, that's the reason why any deck that pulls out an XYZ monster can use Zeus. And then quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, send all other cards on the field to the graveyard. That's not once per turn. So if you have multiple materials, like 4 materials, and the reason why Zoodiac has been shot up again, if you have 4 materials, you can quick effect detach 2, nuke the board, and then you have another 2 if you want to activate it once again if they try to negate or something. It does have a bottom effect, which is pretty good. Once per turn, if another card you control is destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can attach 1 card from your hand, deck, or extra deck as material, so gaining more materials onto it. Now, that effect isn't used as much, but it's still a very good effect for Zeus. This card is such amazing, and you can definitely see it seeing play in the future. Holy fucking shit, this card is just absolutely stupid. Drytrons have taken advantage of this by playing Assembled Nightingale to get a shit ton of materials on it, and Drowned Magician as well. Outledge, if it's a Zoodiac, Outledge Zoodiac, there's your Zeus right there. Zeus is a very powerful card. I would not see, it's already seeing a shit ton of play now, and I'm not going to be surprised when it sees way more in the future. So yeah, that's number. At number 2, I got Dragoon. Oh boy, this card is broken. Now, the reason why this came out in October? I could be wrong. This card I think came out in October. If it's not October, then it's September. But yeah, this card is very powerful with cards like Red Eye Fusion and Red Eye Fusion is how you pull it out, but Predaprant, Verte, and Aconda as well. Dear God, Dragoon is just broken as fuck. Now we're seeing it more of now because combo decks are no longer the case, and now Outledge and Dogmatica can pull out Verte and Aconda and go to Dragoon. So basically, Dragoon, if you don't know it already, is cannot be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card for card effects either. During the main phase, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. If you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. You can use this effect a number of times based on how many normal monsters you used for its fusion material. So basically, you use Dark Magician and Red Eyes to the two normal monsters, so you can activate it twice a turn. And then quick effect during either player's turn when a card effect is activated. Quick effect, discard 1 card, negate the activation if you do destroy it, and if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack. It's basically just holy shit stupid. There's very few cards that can stop it right now. Virtual Worlds have just the stupidest time trying to get rid of just have the hardest time trying to get rid of Dragoon because of how good it is. Now, this hasn't seen that much play, but it's just one of those cards. It's like you can't, this has to see play eventually. It's seeing play now with Outledge and Dogmatica and just any deck that could pull out Verte and Aconda, basically. But it's just like, it just hasn't seen as much play as you thought it has. That's why it's not number 1. But there's no way. This has to see some sort of increase in play in 2021. This card is just way too broken for Yu-Gi-Oh players not to try to abuse. So I can definitely see this getting used in the future, and that's why it's currently at. And at number 1, I got Forbidden Droplet. Dear God, this came out with Rise of the Duelist with Triple Tactic Talents and Ice Dragon Prison and Dear Servant. Wow, that was a fucking booster box, booster box, wasn't it? Holy shit, this card has been good, and oh boy, it's already seeing a shit ton of play, and it probably won't drop later in the future. Basically, this effect is a quick effect, by the way. Send any number of cards from your hand or field to the graveyard until the end of this turn. Have the attack of exactly that many effect monsters your opponent controls. Also, negate their effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of cards with the same original type, so monster, spell, or trap, as that card sent to the graveyard activated this effect. So basically, if you send a monster, they can't respond with monster effects. And you can only use this effect once per turn. So basically, this can stop basically anything. So basically, if they have like a Dragoon or a Zeus that could fuck you up, you just play Droplet and send a monster so they can't respond to it. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, Zeus doesn't matter, but for Dragoon, you basically play this, send one monster, and all of a sudden Dragoon is shut down for the turn. Yeah, this can basically stop any powerful cards. Just playing it, sending monster, spell, or traps, and make sure they don't respond to it either is pretty good. Why Super Poly is so good, because you can't respond to it, and that's why people use Super Poly to use your opponent's fusion materials, and you can't, or your opponent's monster as fusion material, and you can't respond to it either. So that's the reason why Super Poly is so good, and basically Forbidden Droplet, it's better because it negates the effect, has the attack as well, which is kind of stupid as well. So basically Dragoon goes from 3,000 undestructible card to a 1,500 attack monster that effects are negated. So yeah, Forbidden Droplet is a very powerful card. It's already seeing a shit ton of play now. It's probably not going to drop in the future. This is a card you really need to pick up in the future. This is going for like $80 now. That's the last time I looked at it. I could be wrong, but this card's going for around $80. But I think it's worth it because of how good the card is. This can be basically splashed in any deck right now, except for maybe like Drytrons and Virtual World. But even then, Forbidden Droplet's so good, I would make an exception for it. But yeah, this is definitely a number 1 pick for me. And then that is it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. And please like and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content from me. I'm going to be uploading every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then live streaming on Saturday. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those videos. I'll see you guys, or I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.